Welcome back to Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast. Recap of the final stage of the Tour Auvergne Rhône-Alpes. Did you know, Benji, that in French, or at least I saw on the Le Gruppetto forum, the acronym they've got is Tora, not Tara.
Okay. Okay.
Taura.
Well, initially I would have called it Aura, the Aura Tour. That would have been a great name, but hey, they went for Tara instead, which
Tora,
I
not Tara.
Tora. We it's Dauphiné. I'm sorry, it's Dauphiné. Anyway, that to the side. The reason that Patrick's audio is a little bit less than usual is because he's in a parking lot, but hey, otherwise there was no podcast, so we should be fine on that regard. But
Yeah,
when it comes to today's stage, go ahead.
I'm just trying to close all the apps on my phone because it's charging on the computer battery. I mean, Notre Dame de Briançon. I've made us turn off the exit. We're after Albertville, and then I can see roadworks where we're trying to get back on, which I think happens to me 100% of the time that we go off the planned route in France. So might not be getting to Tignes anytime soon.
Oh, no, 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 no. There's my Lisa bike in the mud. Anyway, that to the side. Mountain stage on the menu today at Tora, if we want to call it that, from Beaufort to Plateau de Solaison. We saw that climb in the Dauphiné 2022 where Jonas and Roglic rode away from everybody after a nuclear lead out by maybe Kruisbeck, maybe Kelderman, don't remember. But that specific climb is in this Dauphiné and in the Tour de France on stage 17, pure guess. But
15.
it was going to be a 15? Close
This
enough.
year, yeah.
It was going to be a bit of a preview of what's to come in that Tour de France. But the initial start of it, Col du Pré from the get-go, 7K, 9.4%, followed by the Montée de Bizan, which is a pretty massive climb as well. 11.5K, 9%, then a smaller climb, Col des Aravis, and then the run in a bit of a valley basically towards the Plateau de Solaison climb at the finish, 12K at 9%. But if we talk about GC, Patrick, what expectations did we have, or was there the question of success kind of?
Nah, we thought, like last night, we said Del Toro should win because the wounds of Sexas looked more than just, like, they looked like he had a proper crash. So
Yeah.
I didn't, him doing a big raid on the Bizan, we hoped he did it for the stage, like for the entertainment, but I don't think, Del Toro was going into the stage as GC favourite, not having to do too much. Just he's ahead of Sexas. He's got to put 7 seconds ahead of Jorgensen. There's no bonies, but he can just burst away from him. We'd see what would happen on the final climb. And then we have a breakaway formation. Again, not televised. And we see the whole Ineos team in the breakaway. So Deplouse with Carlos Rodriguez, they're going for the stage win because he's out of GC. They then have, who else was in the break? Astana guy?
Parepancha, Basafonso, Bizot, Tejada, and Steinhauser. And then eventually we get later into the stage. To be clear, first of all, I kind of expected more drama on Col du Pré, if I'm being honest. But it's also not the ideal stage for a crazy coup, because you've got these two monster climbs at the start, and then the Col des Aravis is easier with a long valley afterwards. So if you make a coup this early on the stage, you need to make sure you've got riders with you. That's why Ineos opted for we'll go in the break with Carlos Rodriguez and the Plus, and then on the next climb on the Montée de Bizan, attack there with Kevin Vogeland to the breakaway with two satellite riders up the road. And I thought that was a pretty cool plan because, let's be honest, they were pretty much in the mud when it comes to their entire team going into the stage. So them trying something crazy is something I do want to applaud. That to the side, Sixas drops on the first climb, abandons in the downhill because apparently he couldn't hold the handlebars too well. Still had pain, especially in the downhill. So that's a bit scary towards the Tour de France, but let's hope it all ends up coming together. Do you think there's any behind-the-scenes stuff where we could have looked at the situation yesterday and said, if Sixas was not French on a French team, would he have started today's stage in the first place?
Oh, I don't know about starting. I mean, if he wants to start, every team lets riders start with scrapes or after crashes the previous day. I think that's a normal thing in cycling.
Not every rider is Paul Sixas who's about to start his first Tour de France, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, did he realistically have a chance to win today? Like, even without knowing his condition, we thought pretty unrealistic that he's going to drop Del Toro by a minute after that crash of yesterday. So then probably better to park it up. I mean, what if he crashed on the descent? There's two big descents you got to start straight away today. But yeah, breakaway, it's controlled by Trek, and Why?
Is that surprising?
Yeah, I guess because there's no bonies at the finish.
Yeah, but it's also like maybe Ayuso and Trek think that Ayuso's better with a harder race than Del Toro might be,
I'm
but
not sure it was a hard race.
well, they were making it harder than if they hadn't paced, I
True.
guess, because I don't think they were doing it to keep Vauquelin within reach, because I think they were pacing before Vauquelin was even
Yeah.
in the attack in the first
Maybe just
place.
the
Now,
stage win. Teams try to win races. If
Sure.
Ayuso, if he wins GC by dropping Del Toro, put the stage win in play as well.
it's fine. It's fine. Like, I more have an issue with helping GC teams on the flat than I have with something on the climb that might make your rider maybe even either benefit more over other podium competitors. In the case of Ayuso, it doesn't even have to be compared to Del Toro. If it increases his chances of finishing high on the podium, then that also is a good thing. But I think you're right. I think it's for the stage victory in the same way. Oh, Patrick just got violently attacked by an insect on the YouTube stream. What happened?
An insect came in. I flinched. It sensed my aura, and then it just flew back out straight away. So
Did it sense your aura or your Tora?
my Taura, whatever the acronym is of this race now. If you're like me, you're sitting in a French regional train station car park, and you want to watch the Critérium de Dauphiné, now called the Tower race. You need NordVPN. You need NordVPN to be able to log in on your HBO Max wherever you are on the move, so you can watch cycling at all times. We had 4 races today worth watching. We had Copenhagen, Baby Giro, Hippingen, which is one day race in Swiss, and the Tour Auvergne Rhône-Alpes, formerly known as the Critérium de Dauphiné. And if you want, it's come back. Sorry. NordVPN can't help you with really big insects, but if you turn it on, I don't think it stops the hornet coming in.
It can help you with virtual insects.
Exactly. It makes it secure when you log on to, public Wi-Fi, where train station, airport, wherever you are, hotel, etc. So, to get the best discount on your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/LRCP. The link, which we have down below in the show notes, will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. There's no risk. Nord has a 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the description box down below. All right, brakes going to get caught. 35 seconds at the base. Valentin Perry-Pantra dances away. Trek of control with Simmons and Verona. Immediately UAE take over on the bottom, Benji.
Yeah, they do, and to be honest, they had multiple riders pacing, Vermarke, Sivakov, eventually Torres, when the gap was 45 seconds basically at the foot, but you're right that eventually we see Carlos Rodriguez and Valentin Perry-Pantra being the strongest in that breakaway. Vermarke was doing a solid tempo, Sivakov maybe better than I expected today as well. It's really when Torres hits it at the front, though, that we see the first proper GC riders dropping, and I count Luke Tuckwill as a GC rider, because, well, he's literally in the yellow jersey. In doing so, he drops off the back with Van Gils with him, who actually supports him for the rest of the climb, pacing for him, and I think that mattered a lot, because yesterday he cracked in the last 3K. It helps a lot with cracking if you have a teammate with you, even if it's just mentally. So, in this stage, you could argue that whatever position Tuckwill ends in, gotta give credit to Van Gils for that performance as well, because otherwise it might have been lower, because in hindsight, looking at the overall GC results at the end of this podcast, the gaps are pretty small when it comes to the potential podium. But 9.1 kilometers to go, Keon starting to drop, Ineos gets caught from this breakaway and dropped, and it doesn't take too long then. Maybe another 300 meters, Patrick, and Isaac Del Toro attacks. What did we see then?
No reaction. But no, they didn't show it. I think the strike rate, by the way, on coverage of GC riders attacking on a final climb, it's got to be less than 50%.
It's 10% maybe in this race. Ayuso yesterday.
They will cut away to, I don't know, a blade of grass that has some sort of religious artifact embedded into it.
An insect.
After 6 hours of nothing happening, and then as the final lead-up's happening, they're like, no, we should focus on this insect. But yet Torres had dropped Jorgensen. So Torres had done the lead-out and dropped everybody, Pablo Torres. So UAE set up Jorgensen completely, and set up Del Toro completely, and then he just he continued on, and Jorgensen didn't react. Ayuso had been looking suspect at the start of the climb, And I was surprised, honestly, because this is not... We've actually never seen Del Toro ride like this.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
And he
We
didn't need
usually
to.
see him being the... You're right. Like, usually we see Del Toro taking up the Jebel Mobra strategy, is how I call it now, but he's done it before Jebel Mobra. It was literally the way he lost the Giro last year as well, if you think through it. Now, today is the opposite, where he kind of does what Ayuso did in yesterday's stage, but it's also a slight bit of a different climb in the sense that the first half of Colombier yesterday was super hard. This climb is relatively more steady than yesterday, I would pronounce it to be, but Del Toro doing this is also... I think it's also the right thing to do. You say he doesn't need to do this necessarily, but that's half true. I agree with you. Like, Tuckwell is ahead of him in GC. There's still an okay gap ahead of Del Toro towards Tuckwell, but on paper, if Del Toro attacks in the last 3.5 kilometers, Tuckwell's still losing GC. But I think they wanted to be certain, and I'm kind of okay with that. Especially if you can then pull it off, which, spoilers, Del Toro wins the stage.
True, it's 50 seconds, so yeah, is he going to wait? Let's say he runs out of teammates, 5Ks, pace comes out of the race, Van Gils is there for Tuckwell, Jorgensen's there.
Solid. Skjelmose for
yeah,
Ayuso.
they're riding defensive. It's actually much simpler the way UAE did it. If you have the best climber in the race and he needs to take time, make it hard at the start when you have the teammates. That's exactly what UAE did really well with Sivakov, Vermaker and Torres. And Del Toro goes away. He immediately takes 20 seconds. Skjelmose and Tullet start to relay for Ayuso and Jorgensen respectively. And gap goes to 30. Gap goes to 42 seconds. Tuckwell's holding pace. He's only on 1 minute 15, 1 minute 10 at this point. And then Ayuso attacks. He's into the shallower section. Jorgensen tries to respond, and he blows up doing so. He then loses 20 seconds to Ayuso. Ayuso gets it down to 36 seconds, and then also keeps losing time on the steeper sections to Del Toro. So that was the stage gun. GC was done. Tuckwell would lose 1 minute. Not so much today, actually. Tuckwell only, we lost 1 minute 43 today, so you're right, that pacing might have made 30 seconds plus difference compared to the day before. But important, I mean, these sort of real change in GC was that, in that, okay, Del Toro's gone away, he wins by a minute. That's a huge performance. This is like a Vingegaard, Pogačar, that's that sort of level gap where you see everyone else is on, Ayuso a minute, Johannesson a minute 2. He's a minute from first to second, plus he went from the bottom just all out, and he put 90 seconds, I think, into Vingegaard and Roglic 2022 Solaizon climb. So, Del Toro, I mean, this couldn't have gone better for UAE. They have their Pogačar's last, or maybe, yeah. I think they're going to ride for him. I think he's going to podium the Tour.
Yeah, but do I need to send an apology form to Andorra? An apology form that includes a segment like, I look too closely at ASLP. Is ASLP on this climb estimated by Nijeka 650? That is the highest I've seen for Del Toro, right?
It is. It is.
So, can he climb now?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Why did he put dirt on the inside of the corner when Saishas crashed?
But on a serious note, 650 ASLP, if we take a look at that concept compared to a Jonas and a Pogačar, Jonas at the Giro went up to 665, 668 maybe. I don't remember the exact numbers if I'm being honest. Pogačar is a bit higher, of course. This is the level that you need to be competitive for the podium at the Tour de France. And he's a domestique on paper.
Exactly. You have your domestique doing 650. Like, that's climbing much better than Yates. I think the way this is playing out, they're going to use Yates and others as the launcher for Pog. And then you have Del Toro now climbing at a level where he tries to sit on the guys behind, the next group. And then he's going to ride for podium. I think that's how they're going to do it. Like he's like
I think that's fair.
Saishas also never done a long climbing performance of this level. 30 minutes.
That is true.
Not saying he
I'm trying
can't,
to.
but he didn't.
I think he probably can. Like, I expect him able to do this. We haven't seen it. Would we have seen it if Pixas hadn't crashed?
Maybe, we don't
My
know.
assumption would have been yes, but it's impossible to say.
Yeah, it's hard to know. It's hard to know, like the... But would Saishas have dropped him on this? No, I'm not sure either. The thing is, we haven't seen it, whereas Del Toro actually did it, and he did it at the back end of a really hard 1 week. Everyone got sick, so yeah, scary stuff for the Tour de France. UAE, like their squad's coming together. We'll also see them in Swiss. The majority of the rest of their Tour de France roster will be in Swiss. Del Toro and Sivakov are the only Tour de France guys, 2 of the 8 in the Tour Auvergne Rhône-Alpes. But yeah, Del Toro, he's now won UAE Tour, 3rd Strada, Tirreno, plus a stage, and then Sanremo did the launch for Pog on Cipressa, so you'll forgive him the 110th there. And then he wins 2 stages and the GC in Tour Auvergne Rhône-Alpes after being put on a minute in the TTT, by the way, because
Yeah.
so he had to make up a deficit for the back end of this week.
Well, Tuchel was dropped by his own team, by the way. Just, we can't forget about that detail when it comes to Red Bull.
And we'll get to that in a sec. Yeah, once we've finished Del Toro, yeah, we'll get to the rest of the podium in a second. But yeah, Del Toro basically, he's in 1 week races at the moment. I mean, he's only done 2 Grand Tours, but he's like, yeah, but after Pogacar, like, and Vingegaard, he is the best 1 week rider right now. Like, he's got the TT,
Yes.
he's got the punch, he's got the team support, and now he does a massive climbing performance today. He doesn't really have any weaknesses.
I think that's fair, especially with the palmarès we have this year on paper. Like, I would put Paul Sixas higher as a rider in general, but we didn't see it this week, and we only saw it at Etsuya in a 1 week race this year so far outside of Algarve then. So there's not that consistent 1 week races where we can base that judgment on when it comes to Paul Sixas. So for me, Del Toro is definitely 3rd level in terms of consistency. Also with Almeida being sick, not being able to do these 1 week races, stuff like that. How does this performance compare to Almeida's long climbing performances?
I'd have to check what Angleroo was.
I think it was pretty good though.
Angleroo was pretty good, but Angleroo also, some of like the consistently steep climbs, like Angleroo, like Solaizon, they make it easier to do a bigger performance because it just becomes a mano-a-mano test straight away. But yeah, let's move to the rest of the podium. Tuckwell holds on to 2nd. We were talking about, maybe 5th. He holds on to 2nd, 54 seconds behind Del Toro, because he basically gets paced. He only finishes 43 seconds behind Ayuso. So he took, the race for Tuckwell, he took time on stage 1. He took 45 seconds. No. Yes. No, I'm lying. He took 12 seconds on stage 1.
Correct?
So that's not enough. But then he went in the break on stage 6 and took 3.5 minutes on Jorgensen, and Ayuso. And that's the difference. So he finishes 2nd. Ayuso then finishes 3rd because he did take time on Jorgensen. Jorgensen drops 2 spots. He loses the podium by 19 seconds to Ayuso and actually 42 seconds to Tuckwell because he finishes with Tuckwell today. Johannesson drops him. He almost finished with Ayuso on the stage, came back to him. He stays put on 5th. How's that possible? I guess he lost time early, right? Schkelmoser,
3 minutes and a half on stage 1.
Okay. Christian Rodriguez, maybe if I wait long enough, I'm right. He finishes at 8th. About him versus Carlos Rodriguez. Jose Felix Parra 9th and Guillaume Martin 10th in GC. We had Saxas abandoned, so everyone moved up a spot basically there.
About this top 10, with Jorgensen, we see the opposite as Crest-Voland. We see on Crest-Voland that he drops, but is able. He manages to set his consistent tempo to the top, while here he just melted. The second that he dropped, he melted, the gap expanded, and he basically dropped towards a group of Luke Tuckwell and so forth. So definitely not a great day. Maybe the hardness of the stage, if there was hardness in the stage, hit him. Maybe the climb didn't fit him as well as the last few days. Maybe the day was worse. I've never seen Matteo Jorgensen as like a Grand Tour level climber. I see him as the guy that can win a 1 week stage race. It is not worrying, the level I see here when it comes to Jorgensen. It's kind of what I expect from a Jorgensen against a Del Toro. Maybe not today. Maybe today was worse than I expected. But it doesn't change my view on the strength of Visma at the Tour de France. It's Del Toro that changes my view. Well, to be honest, not really. Like, I expected Del Toro to be a GC level luxury domestique at the Tour de France, regardless of what we saw here at the Dauphiné, you know? So I don't think this changes my view about UAE and Visma going into the Tour de France too much, because at the end of the day, my take was always that Pogacar and UAE would be the strongest ones going into the race, and I have heard many people kind of foster the idea of Pogacar when it went to the classics with a bit higher weight to try and focus on the classics. There's truth in that. Romandy displayed that as well. But I think he's going to be just fine at the Tour de France. So hopefully we see Pogacar and Vingegaard at their best against each other, and their support as well. And their support is seemingly on the level I expected. Can I be completely honest? Wout van Aert with his elbow injury at the moment, I think. Maybe a swollen elbow, who might miss out on the Visma training camp, is what I read on social media in the last few days. I don't think Wout van Aert is essential for Visma Leasebike's Tour de France team, especially if you look at the last 2 years, where Wout actually didn't play that key role at the Tour de France for Vingegaard. Last year, he came into the Tour de France undercooked, and his best day was the day where he rode for himself, which I'm not saying that he's selfish and only good when he rides for himself. We've seen in 2022 that's not the case, but he is a replaceable part of the Visma Leasebike Tour team in 2026. Is that controversial?
No, I mean, like, is Hagen's level that he showed in his Dauphiné different to what Van Aert's level was? Or was he climbing better? But
I think Hagen's was better.
But he subsequently got sick. A lot of the riders had fever this morning. Not in Visma, they had 2 abandons with sickness, then Plapp and co-abandoned with sickness, so a huge amount of dropouts. But yeah, it looks like
Patrick won't make it to the training camp.
Maybe not. UAE strategy. They send 2 riders here. Both of them don't get sick. Del Toro does his best ever climbing performance, and now the rest are at Swiss. So they're looking really, really good for the Tour. And you're right, like Visma, they don't have... Well, yeah, if you do like the football comparison of like this right back versus this right back, this goalkeeper against this goalkeeper, where you do team comparison, you have Del Toro made a big statement against Jorgensen today, for example. Sivakov looked a lot better today.
The problem is that Visma Leasebike don't have anyone in the Tour de France squad that is that Isaac Del Toro level on every single day. You need to have a second GC rider for that. And Sepkus can be that on his very best day. Jorgensen can be that on medium mountain terrain. But in the high mountains, they don't have an equivalent to Del Toro.
No, or just in general, just like, not even the high, more like I'm thinking these like Orsia Millet. Or even, Alpe d'Huez. Yeah, Alpe d'Huez high mountains. Yeah, Alpe d'Huez 8%, like today.
And like, if you think on top of that, imagine if Almeida was in good form going to the Tour de France. Mate, you've got 2 people like that against you if you're Visma Leasebike.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Almeida crashed out of the Tour last year before any of the mountain stages. That's why Pog also was a little bit isolated in the back end of the 3rd week, and Narvaez had to pick up the slack with Yates. Because Almeida had crashed out, their premium climber. So, yeah, I think UAE looking good for the high mountains this July, no surprise. What else we learned from the Dauphiné? Ayuso looks in decent shape. I think Trek will be more than happy with 3rd place. Maybe they won on a stage, but they'll be happy with that comeback. He also worked really well with Schjelmoser. And
credits to Schjelmoser, by the way.
Yeah, they rode well together.
The second the user had spoken to the radio, Schjelmoser went to the front and did his work. He's still in GC going into the stage, so not every rider would have done that, especially Volkel and Ferronli.
Yeah, exactly. So I think those 2, and they've said it's overhyped how much the beef, there is none, they work well together. All right, that was the Tour Auvergne Rhône-Alpes quite a good race in the end, quite exciting. 3 good mountain stages, an exciting first stage. Well, no, weird first stage, but yeah. Alrighty, it's getting really hot in this car. GP Hippingen, I'll say one word. Everyone just watch the last kilometre of GP Hippingen.
Yeah, well, we'll discuss it in our next podcast if we think about it. In our next weekly show, maybe.
Crazy
when it comes to
finish.
Copenhagen Sprint, to rush through it, Sprint happens after a major crash in the peloton earlier. I'm pretty sure Tim Merlier was not in the front peloton by the end. I didn't watch this race as closely as I did Dauphiné. We go into the last 800 meters. The Decathlon is setting up the lead out. We see Kro Andersen coming on the ride with Philipsen in the wheel. Not the same team, but still happening. Then Philipsen switches from the Decathlon to the Lund Andresen train, sprints past him in the final few meters. A really good sprint by Philipsen, honestly. And he wins the Copenhagen Sprint. There's probably more to it, but I can see Patrick is getting fried in the car, so had to round it up. There we go.
Thanks for listening as always. We'll see you with... What will we see you with?
I don't fucking know.
We're not
Weekly
covering,
show?
We're not covering Swiss as usual, so we'll see you with a weekly show sometime this week. Then I got to go to the Ashes. All right, thanks for listening. See you this week. Ciao, ciao.